The birth of Christ is the central event in the history of Earth, the very thing the whole story has been about.
This is Pints with Jack, Season 8, Episode 11, Christmas Special 2024. Welcome, friends, to Pints with Jack, your favorite C.S. Lewis podcast run by three Christmas elves, Andrew, David, and myself, Matt. This is clearly written by a dad.
No, it's written by me.
This season, we're once again following the adventures of Elwyn Ransom, who this time is exploring Pearlandra. But early this morning, David sent us new show notes, realizing that we should be recording this episode on the Feast of St. Nicholas, and it would be going out on Christmas Eve. So he thought we should do a Christmas special. Although we've celebrated Christmas on the Common Rooms, we actually haven't done a Christmas special on the main audio feed since season 4. So we are long overdue, gentlemen.
We are long overdue.
Yes. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. It's actually so chilly. I put a sweater over a short sleeve shirt. I mean, you know, you people up in the north with the winter weather warnings should pity us.
You should take some time to describe this sweater, though, because it is a feast for the eyes.
Ah, yes. Well, I have my bad Christmas sweater. It's green with little white snow dots, and then it's got 4 or 5 Christmas ornaments, and they are all cats. And so, plus I have my Santa Claus hat, which worked much better last year when I had the enormous beard. But yes, it's we are in the spirit of it. And today, on the Feast of St. Nicholas, we do light up winter garden. And so they have been loading Main Street. Our main street is Plant Street, and they've been loading it up with Christmas lights and a big tree. And our band from the church will come and play Christmas carols, and different pastors from around the city will come and share some things, and I'll say the final blessing, and then the mayor will flip the switch, and we will light up Winter Garden, the tree, and everything else will all light up. And so we are very much in the Christmas season and spirit. And then tomorrow we're having an Advent quiet day, and so Kristen and I are putting a bunch of that together today. So ho, 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 and all that jazz.
Yeah, this morning the kids were very excited when they saw that their shoes had been filled outside their bedrooms.
Oh, nice.
They each got an orange and a little fun-sized chocolate.
Okay.
So, and being the sort of dad that I am, I let them eat both for breakfast.
Oh, good. Not
they had
too
to have some
bad.
cereal first, but yeah, it's one of the great joys in life, giving your children chocolate for breakfast and seeing their little faces light up, realizing that something's different here. Normally, we're not allowed to do this sort of thing.
Well, and there's a brand new sonnet by Malcolm Guite for St. Nicholas Day. So he just released it today. It was commissioned by the St. Nicholas Center, and you can cut this if you want, but I'm going to read it.
Go for it.
St. Nicholas, protector of the poor, gift giver, wonder worker, patron saint, renew our generosity and pour afresh on us your spirit without stint, that we, like you, might notice, might respond, and rescue those whom we've ignored, whose plight cries out for our redress, near neighbors bound by poverty and debt, the out of sight and out of mind, the children of the poor, all the exploited, those whose lives are wrecked by others' greed, indifference, and neglect, those overboard and floundering for the shore. Help us make others merry with our wealth, and joy like you in doing good by stealth. Yeah, maybe we don't use that. Exploitation and greed and the poor and the wrecked and the wrecked and the... Yeah.
No, it's still Advent. I still like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're keeping that.
All right. Well, to Malcolm.
To Malcolm. Oh, and it probably is worth a word or two about St. Nicholas Day. So he was a bishop in the early church, Myra. Yeah, it's, I think, modern day Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
He was known for a bunch of things, but one of the things that he did was he threw money through the windows of people who are poor. And in particular, I think it's a father with 3 daughters, and he basically threw the dowry money in so that they could get married rather than face worse alternatives.
Yes, ignominy.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I learned today from the Christian History Almanac is that Protestants have got Martin Luther to thank for saving St. Nicholas. Because when the bunch of sourpusses were cancelling all of the fun things around this time of year, Martin Luther stood firm on St. Nicholas.
I'm loving, this is a phenomenal photo, but I'm laughing not at the photo. I'm laughing at Andrew holding it up. But as David is continuing talking and not acknowledging it, he's pushing it closer and closer and closer to the thing. Guys,
please describe.
At my church last year, I dressed up as St. Nicholas with the mitre, the red mitre, and the cope, which is like a cape, and my big staff, my mitre, or I had the crozier. So, yeah, they asked, and I had my big beard back then, so they asked me to be Father Christmas, and there I was. And then I also, at our Christmas, was a gnome.
No way. Andrew, I think you might be the king and master at these kind of photos, because that beard just turned both of those into incredible photos. I mean, it is remarkable, actually.
Yeah, well, the beard is gone now. It's trimmed all down, but my parishioners are still like, "Oh, you just got your..." I'm like, yeah, 3 months ago I trimmed it down. But, so I evidently left quite an impression.
Well, beautiful. Well, gentlemen, it might be Christmas Eve, but when you're listening to this, it's early morning in Advent when we're recording this. And so we're going to continue our streak of the best day brewing, which David graciously restocked us. And we have multiple ones now. So we are syncing up with the best day brewing hazy IPA. We should really get them to sponsor us, because now we're pitching this aggressively. It's really that good though. And we're going to be toasting a new Patreon supporter, Robert Smith, who just upgraded. Well, new might not be the right word, because he upgraded. A newly top-tiered one. As you're listening to this, it's going to be on the eve of Christmas. And so, we want to toast that one. We just pray that this Christmas season was beautiful, that your heart, the Advent season, led to a preparation, a receptiveness to receiving Christ in your heart. And we pray as you enter into the actual Christmas day that it's just wonderful and a chance to accept him deeper into your life and allow him to just transform it more and more and grow closer to him and bring him into this world. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I swapped out the Christmas bells for the chimes for today.
A couple of pieces of news from me. I received an email from Mark Cook in Olympia, Washington, who told me that he's starting a new C.S. Lewis reading group. So if you are in the area, please send us a message at pintsforjack.com and I will connect you. And also this week, I got to go to St. Thomas Aquinas High School here in La Crosse and speak for 45 minutes to a class that meets there. It's Mr. Scram's class. There's about 5 kids who are doing this special class on C.S. Lewis. And so I got to gush for 45 minutes talking about Lewis and hearing about their favorites and what they've enjoyed so far, because they've done The Great Divorce, The Screwtape Letters, and they are currently on Perelandra. And there are some extra credit people in there who've already read Till We Have Faces. And I told them, it's like, okay, next time I come back, we need to talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, and in the last week, last Sunday, I had a day off. So although it was Advent 1, we played hooky from church. We spent Thanksgiving with Kristen's family and got up in the morning and came home on December 1st, in part because we had Behold the Lamb of God tickets. And you may be familiar with Andrew Peterson and the Rabbit Room, the Wing Feather series, the song Is He Worthy, which Chris Tomlin has covered. And Andrew and I think, first met in Cambridge. We actually met because I gave Phil Keggy the company they keep and told him that my name wasn't in there, but it was listed. And Phil ended up, because Andrew's a big Lewis and Tolkien guy, Phil ended up giving Andrew Peterson the book, and telling Andrew, your name is in this book. And so he and I both had the same experience of scouring that book, finding our names not there, and being delighted by what we did find. So we've been friends for years. We got together with him once at Malcolm's local pub with Malcolm and Max McLean and him and I. And so we had an hour or so after the show, and I brought along Bud to Bud, our Bud Summers, our Scotch patron. for many years, and thank you for that. I still had about half a bottle left from my last year's bottle, my Lefroy Cargus. And so I brought that with the Barfield decanter, poured it in there, and shared it out with Andrew and with a bunch of the folks on the bus. And I gave him one of our Pints with Jack shot glasses, and he was very excited about that. So he's out on the road doing his Behold the Lamb of God tour right now. And so cheers to Andrew.
Cheers to Andrew.
Cheers.
Well, before we talk about Christmas-related stuff, at the time of recording, it's been a week since C.S. Lewis Reading Day, so I just wanted to give us a little bit of time to talk about that. Any particular thoughts from this year, other than the fact that Matt needs to find better internet?
That shocked me.
Matt, please explain what happened.
Yes. I was at my in-laws for Thanksgiving. We recorded this on the Friday. Well, recorded, it was live. So on that Friday, and it's just unfortunately, the internet was a little bit of a struggle. And so for the first round,
A lot of it.
a lot of it.
Prohibitively so.
Yeah. And my cell phone's hotspot wasn't great either. And then my wife was at the store. Thankfully, the second time around, she was back in hers. She has a different company than I do for cell service. Well,
Oh my goodness, you have a house divided. We're talking about that later.
we still got little things we got to check off on merging everything. And so that would be one of those.
I would suggest switching to hers.
Yeah. Well, hers proved to be a lot better than mine. I'm trying to remember the last one. I liked this better format. I thought it was wonderful with, at least the one I was on, was very centralized around a person. And then, of course, there was other people that did it, but I was on the one that was about the gentleman that wrote the book on the friendships of C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
No ordinary people.
No ordinary people.
The Reverend Professor President Joel Heck.
It was very fun to be able to have it centrally focused on a specific topic for about half the time, and then to have an expert on it specifically. So it wasn't just me giving random thoughts on it. No offense, mine aren't really that valuable.
We get that enough, yeah.
Yeah. But then still allowing it to be popcorn too. So it's a good little blend of targeted, knowledgeable things. So almost like a real-time after-hours interview with other scholars and Lewis fans there, I guess maybe the way to describe it. I liked it. I really did like it. Well done.
Well, that's good, because I thought that worked better as well. And so I think we will do something like that moving forward. So we'll always have like a little spotlight, bring in one person to talk about that in particular, but then have the rest of the Lewis creative world in YouTube videos and podcasts then sort of pile in and just have a chit chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, wonderful. And it's a little guy heavy. I'm glad that we had a couple of women in the UK, but maybe Patty Callahan, I didn't get a hold of her in time, but she was interested in coming on. And there's loads of folks that we could bring on. Annie Nardoni and others. So maybe next year we'll see if we can even that out.
Well, I'm planning on doing another theme. The theme that I have in mind has writers that particularly focus on that. So I think that we might actually swing the pendulum in the other direction. We might be the only guys. We'll see.
That would be excellent. And count me in for all of that.
Yeah, this was also the first time that we did a British time live stream, which was good for people that were in the UK, as well as we've got at least one Orthodox Jew who listens to us, and he was very happy because all this was happening on a Friday, and so Shabbat was bearing down on him, and it meant that he could listen to that stream because it would be too late to do either of the US streams.
So we're glad that he joined us, and he shamed us all with his thoughtfulness.
With his more Jesus-centric, focused answer. That's kind of embarrassing.
It's almost like David Bates continuing to bring up C.S. Lewis's best book when I stopped doing it.
It is going to be fun. Yakov comes to Virginia, so he reached out to me. So we're going to get together in January.
I'm jealous.
And I guess he comes here pretty much once every 6 weeks from New Jersey.
Well, and not a carte blanche invitation because, we have things to do. But, if listeners are in the Orlando area and it's convenient to meet up, I would love to do that. So lots of people come to Orlando to see the mouse and other things. And if they're in the DC area, Matt's pretty close to the Reagan Airport. And so always a delight to meet our listeners if it works. And so don't hesitate to reach out.
Mm-hmm. And actually, we've got a listener coming to La Crosse.
Really?
tomorrow. So hopefully I'll get to hang out with him and his wife and show him the secondhand bookstores of La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Oh, nice. And we had a couple of listeners who won a book and wanted a signed copy of Mere Christians. So those will be going out today. One to England and one to, where is Kristen? She's up in Michigan or somewhere. You send it to me and I'll get it.
Yes, it was. So our winners were Christina Polstian and Simon Fogg.
Yes.
One's in Wisconsin, one's in England.
Good. And so, yes, those will absolutely be going out.
Another thing that I really liked about this year's reading day is that we actually cycled quite a bit. We had new guests. It wasn't just exactly the same crew as last time. We had the OGs still, and people like William O'Flaherty and Chris Pipkin, although his internet kept kicking him out as well, and Glumpuddle from Talking Beasts. But we also had Bruce Johnson, we had Brian Shepherd this year.
Yeah.
And Brian McGreevy, of course, Father Brian. Yeah. And our two representatives from the UK, that was Julia Golding from the Oxford Centre for Fantasy, and of course, Ruth Jackson from the other C.S. Lewis podcast.
Yes, here. Well, and Julia promised to find me proper chips when we're in Oxford next.
Oh, yes. She had thoughts.
Yes, she did. Actually, when I was at the King's Arms, I mentioned the chips at the King's Arms with their garlic mayo. But when I chatted with the barkeep, he was very passionate about his chips and would not let me order fries with my burger. He wanted me to have chips. And then he rattled off 3 or 4 other places around Oxford that do them properly. So, and of course, Matt Wheeler was there and he played his song and played Erebus. And so always a delight to see our friend Matt.
There's a chance we might be in Oxford in June.
Okay.
So,
wonderful.
Yeah, we're not entirely sure. We have a wedding in Ireland. And so we were like, well, maybe we just pop over there for a few days before meandering over to Ireland.
Yeah.
And we were actually thinking about that Lewis hut that you sent.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, very near Lewis's house, there is this Airbnb effectively that you can rent, and it's full of lots of wonderful Narnia-related imagery. They've even got a wardrobe.
That's in Oxford, right? Or is it in Ireland?
Yes. It is in Oxford. I did double check that.
No, it says it's like it's in the woods of Lewis's woods. It backs up to it. So
yeah, I think it's very close to the lake where I used to swim.
Yeah, there's a pond back there. It's actually owned by Oxfordshire. It's the C.S. Lewis Nature Preserve. And the pond is there and the dugout from the war. And then there's a hill that goes up towards Shotover. And so I couldn't picture exactly where it was, but lovely.
There is a house next to the kilns that's named after something Narnian.
It's called Narnia.
Yeah, so I was wondering if maybe it was in their backyard that backs onto the woods.
I'm not sure. Maybe so. Lewis used to own all of that land.
Well, our friend Carlotta is going to be there at the kilns over Christmas. So I am sending her on a fact-finding mission.
Reconnaissance, sure.
Yeah, exactly, to find out where this place is. Because I've also already got a sign-off from Marie. Next time we're in England, we're going to go to Oxford. And when we're in Oxford, we can stay there. So I'm very excited.
Good. Well, and Matt, I have a friend who has an Airbnb in Oxford. And so if you need to contact on that, let me know.
That's actually great to know. Thank you. Because Oxford doesn't have the best hotel setup, to be blunt.
Yeah. And that is quite surprising. So we're not going to be talking very much more about Lewis today, or at least we're not planning to. But I did want just to highlight some Advent and Christmas-related Lewis works that listeners might like to read during the season. So what do you guys have as suggestions?
I love his little nativity poem. And in fact, Kristen and I did a retreat once based on that nativity poem. Do you mind if I read it?
Go for it.
The Nativity by C.S. Lewis. Among the oxen, like an ox I'm slow. I see a glory in the stable grow, which, with an ox's dullness, might at length give me an ox's strength. Among the asses, stubborn I as they, I see my Savior where I looked for hay. So may my beast-like folly learn at least the patience of a beast. Among the sheep, I like a sheep have strayed. I watch the manger where my Lord is laid. Oh, that my baaing nature would win thence some woolly innocence. Nativity by C.S. Lewis.
Lovely.
Well done. I actually was contemplating doing this. I ended up going with Harry Potter this season, but Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe did dawn on me because both that being like the first book in that series and then the first book in Harry Potter, they both have like a Christmassy feel to them. There's a warmth, there's a coziness in them. And now I'm just thinking of that Airbnb that's in Oxford that has like the Mr. Tumnus little tavern cave that actually, so they have, it's a big tree house, but they have a small one you can rent that's 1 bedroom. It's a Mr. Tumnus. It looks so cozy. It's got a fireplace. It's like, honestly, it looks like Hagrid's hut, to be blunt, but fantastic. So anyways, I would say Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe.
Excellent. By the way, if you disagree with Matt that The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a Christmas movie, there is an episode on the Lamppost Listener. I think it's in their Dancing Lawn stream, where the two hosts and their wives have an argument about whether or not it should be regarded as a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Hey, if Die Hard's a Christmas movie, Lion is.
Yeah. Well, I think some people might dispute that. Wrong thinking people, obviously, but
What's the argument against it?
it's basically that you could say that the majority of the time it isn't Christmas, and the entire point is Aslan turns up so that we get through Christmas quickly and into spring and summer. That's where the latter half of the story takes place. And the earlier part of the story, it's not Christmas, it's just snowy.
Well, Christmas is only one day. I don't know why people
exactly.
do they expect it to be everything?
I tell you what, whether or not it's a Christmas movie, it absolutely is an Advent movie. Right? Awaiting the coming of the true king. Yes.
And regarding other Lewis works you might like to read, there are 3 that really spring to mind. What Christmas Means to Me and Xmas and Christmas, a lost chapter from Herodotus. You can find both of those in God in the Dock. And if you listen back through our stream, you can find an interview that I gave with Ruth from Premier Christian Radio on the C.S. Lewis podcast, talking about those 2 works. I think I was also on Law Haven talking about those because they're wonderful works and particularly funny because Lewis shows where he can be a little bit of a Grinch, but in a quite proper sense, in my opinion.
He does get a little grumpy, doesn't he?
And there's also a Christmas sermon for pagans. I think I'll actually make sure that we have an episode on that next year. I had intended to do it this year, but this year has been, for want of a better word, bonkers.
Yes. Well, and unfortunately, by the time this airs, it will have already passed, but we hope that you will have heard about it. We'll certainly put some information out. Kristen and I are doing an Advent in Narnia webinar for the C.S. Lewis Foundation. So that's coming up December 19th. There it is. And a month from tomorrow, as you're hearing this, on January 25th, on St. Paul's Day, anniversary of my ordination, Simon Horriman will be doing a webinar on C.S. Lewis's Oxford. So fun stuff happening with the C.S. Lewis Foundation.
Well, let's talk about favorite Christmas things. Matt, you wanted to tackle the first one.
Yeah, well, on what date do you start listening to Christmas music?
I'll give the orthodox answer because I know Andrew is a heretic on this front. You can start listening to Christmas music when it's Christmas. While it's still Advent, listen to Advent music.
That's definitely not my position.
Actually, that's how we do it at my church. My rector is very much Father Advent. And so it's all blue theme, no red and green until Christmas Day. And we celebrate the 12 days of Christmas. We even do 12th night with my in-laws. For me, the advent of Christ, the incarnation, is such a grand miracle that contemplating it all year round doesn't hurt at all. So in terms of supporting, Kmart and Hobby Lobby and all the rest of them, I get a little ambivalent when all the Christmas stuff comes out in August. But in terms of the sentiments and the things and the great theology in so many of those, the Advent songs and hymns, I'm up for it anytime.
I believe it should be after Thanksgiving. Second Thanksgiving is done, everything can come out. You can't skip Thanksgiving.
And do you guys go all out on decorations? Because some people, we just get a tree, and other people, they decorate their house and their lawn and every single room in the house.
I mean, this is our first time, and we have a lot going on, so we went above just a tree and did more than that. But I would imagine someday with kids in the house, I will go all out in terms of lights outside. I love that. It just gets me so excited. We used to do that. My dad would actually put it around, not just in trees, but actually on the roof and around the gutters and essentially just wrapped the house. Not like it was tastefully wrapped, but my mom would never accept cheesily wrapped.
Yeah, with Kristen's family, everything comes out. Now, so many of the kids have their own families and other in-laws to go to, but oftentimes the day after Thanksgiving, it would be go out and play sports in the morning and then pull out all the Christmas stuff and decorate the tree. And we each have our own ornaments with our initial on them, and we each take turns hanging them on the tree. And then we turn off all the lights and turn them all to light up all the Christmas at the same time. And that's a big tradition in the Ditchfield family. And of course, they have a Christmas concert that they've been doing now for 25 years. This was our 25th anniversary this December. And so Christmas is just huge with them. It's just lovely.
We're definitely a little lighter. And we used to be able to get away with a fake tree, but Marie now feels guilty considering that we have children that we're only giving them a fake tree. So she's going to make me go out into the woods sometime this week and come back with a tree.
Oh, I love that.
But in terms of house decorations, we don't do that. And everyone off our street, just off our street, they go bonkers because it's like a sort of a main, well, it's a quiet road, but it's a necessary one that a lot of people have to take. And it's got a ridiculously low speed limit of 25 miles an hour. But everybody dresses up their houses there. And so it's actually kind of fun. Alexander doesn't miss out on anything because every single time we go down that street, I point out, oh, here come the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs with Christmas hats and presents and stuff. So there's always plenty for him to look at. That doesn't require me getting up on a ladder and risking my life.
I think my favorite thing is we have the tree, we've got the lights, we purchased, it's just, I don't even know how to describe what I'm describing here, but we just purchased some peppermint mocha. And it's like, once Thanksgiving hit, it's just a mindset shift happens. So every single morning we're starting with a peppermint mocha. We used to did like just a latte, and it's just so fun. And then we sit by the tree now, kind of that first 20 minutes to start the day. It's just very cozy, I guess, is what I love about it.
And calm. My mornings don't start like that.
Yeah.
Lucy was actually up first today, and so she just demanded a bottle first thing, and then food, and then her brother woke up, and then he made his demands, and then they saw that they had chocolate and oranges that made them really happy, and then suddenly they became quiet and docile for a solid 10 minutes.
Oh,
and then the chaos began again.
Oh man!
You know, you should have just combined them and given them a chocolate orange.
That's an acquired taste.
Yeah,
I personally think delicious, but it's not everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
But speaking of favorites, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Ooh.
And you can be as broad with this as you like. Doesn't even necessarily have to be about Christmas. It's something you associate with Christmas. So, for example, when I was growing up, Christmas time was when you got the good TV. And that was when they showed things like Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And actually, it was the first time I saw Ghostbusters was at Christmas as well. In my mind, I associate those with Christmas, and therefore they're therefore Christmas movies.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, by the way, the first movie I ever remember seeing in 1969 in the drive-in.
Wow.
And now that I say that, my back hurts.
I saw it as a young child, and the child catcher scared me to death.
Oh, sure.
Have you guys ever seen the Christmas Shoe?
No.
No, but I've heard of it. I think from you on a previous one of these episodes. I still don't think, I've never seen it.
It's a Hallmark movie. It's now more accessible. Yeah, well, there you go. It's now more accessible. It actually, there's a brief period where it was very hard to find online. Back in the era when iTunes was still kind of there and we didn't have all these streaming things, I had to like find a pirated version just to be able to watch this. Now you can find it in other spots. But anyways, people have usually heard the song. My experience has been people heard a song. Were the Christmas Shoes song?
No.
Sir, I want to buy these shoes for my mama, please. You see, it's Christmas Eve and these shoes are just her size. Nothing? Not ringing a bell?
No bells here.
All right, I've just checked.
All right.
You can watch it on an AMC Plus subscription, YouTube subscription, or Amazon Prime, which I do have. So I'm gonna.
It's got Rob Lowe in it. I mean, it's one of the more beautiful movies. You will cry. It's got probably
you
my
will cry.
Yeah,
I'm dead
cry.
inside.
It's got Kimberly Williams, who is just the most beautiful character in a show. She's the mother. And anyways, it's wonderful. Wonderful.
We watch a lot of the old movies at the Ditchfield house. Of course, some of those songs end up in the Christmas show. And so White Christmas, Holiday Inn, these are big favorites there. And the thing about being with the Ditchfields is, they're so family oriented and loved growing up together. And when they watch a movie, everybody knows every line. So when they say to you, have you seen XYZ? What they mean is, do you know every single line and can you remember all the scenes? And so they'll make little passing references and I don't know any of them. So I just say no and I hunker down and begin my continuing cinematic education.
Have you guys seen Trading Places?
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually find that one fun as well. Maybe coming from the more finance Wall Street background, but I think Eddie Murphy in that one, I think that's a great one. And
oh, yeah.
It always makes me think of Christmas.
Absolutely.
It's funny.
Well, with Alexander, we've recently been watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The, not claymation, but that sort of stop motion animation version, which is kind of adorable. But I think for myself, I would have to say Elf. For the longest time, it was Santa Claus the movie, but now Will Ferrell calling himself an Ninny Muggins and having snowball fights and asking people what their favorite color is.
Yes.
That's my favorite.
Smiling's my favorite.
David, you're not a Hot Frosty fan?
No, not a Hot Frosty fan.
We've not seen this, but it's a 2024 Netflix movie, and I just die laughing every time I see the advert for it. It's exactly what it sounds like. Hot Frosty.
Well, that actually is a nice transition into the next section, which is a little Christmas quiz.
Ooh.
Either of you know no answers, just call them out. In the song Frosty the Snowman, what made Frosty come to life?
There must have been some magic in that old silk hat he found.
There you go.
'Cause when he put it on his head, he began to dance around. I bet you the listeners didn't know that it was Christmas sing-along with the Pints with Jack folks.
Yeah, Andrew gets a point for the answer, and I'm immediately deducting it for the singing.
I had 2 verses, and I was more on tune than Matt. I want another point back.
I think that's debatable.
Okay, I'll just take away 2 from Matt.
Okay, good. There we go.
Okay, who played George Bailey? And this is a bit unfair because Andrew has a few more years on Matthew, but who played George Bailey in the Christmas classic It's a Wonderful Life?
Oh, was that
Jimmy Stewart? I gave him 5 seconds.
All right.
Okay, Matt, you should know this one. Per a recent holiday fad, what spy hides around the house reporting back to Santa on who has been naughty and nice?
Ooh.
Oh, the shelf elf.
Yeah, the elf.
Elf on a shelf. Half a point.
No. For Matt, that's a full point. Him in English language, that's
yes.
Good. And I do hope everyone's playing along at home. Please, as you're listening to the podcast, please shout it out no matter where you are. What Christmas beverage is also known as milk punch?
Oh, is it hot chocolate?
Is this like a White Russian?
I like where your head's at, but no. The answer is eggnog.
Eggnog.
White
Very
Russian was
nice.
White Russian was a good guess.
In Nashville and in the South, in addition to eggnog, they also have what they pronounce boiled custard. And boiled custard is eggnog without the spices. And so it's got this lovely kind of melted vanilla ice cream flavor, which is fantastic. So every year I go looking for my one dose of boiled custard every year.
All right, this one you got to think a little. One of Santa's reindeer shares a name with a famous symbol of Valentine's Day. Which reindeer is that?
Cupid.
There you go.
Sorry. You mean Psyche's
there you go.
Husband, Eros.
That was what I was looking for.
Son of the god of the mountain. Ungut's son. Yes. Sorry, Matt. I'll give you your 5-second buffer again.
I need this.
This question will favor him. What animated 2004 film is about a train that carries kids to the North
Polar
Pole
Express.
There we go, on Christmas Eve. Well done, Matt.
I had it, and I just let you have it there.
Could you have said it faster than I could have?
Back to an old person question. What's the name of the family featured in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Oh, yeah. The
Griswolds.
Griswolds.
Yes,
There
well
you
done,
go.
Matt. I was rooting for you. It's the Griswold Family Christmas.
It's because it's a Harry Potter reference, too.
What phrase made popular in the book A Christmas Carol expresses annoyance with cheery holiday celebrations?
Humbug.
There we go. And I think that's probably a wonderful note to end that section on. Thank you for playing along. So we have a little bit of time. So let's now turn from Christmas and take the opportunity to talk about a little bit more personal stuff. And we talk about this occasionally a little bit on the Common Room, but it's been a while since we've done this on the main podcast feed. So what's this last year been like for each of you?
You know, it was it was the most beautiful year of my life.
Correct answer.
Yeah, I got married. No, I'm actually stretch it a little bit further back than a year. I was just reflecting on this, so much changed in ironically, a 2-day period. I didn't really realize the second one. So the first one was June of last year. Obviously, I was introduced June of 2023, or talked about. I wasn't introduced quite yet of who's now my wife. But what I thought was interesting is so that made a huge difference. That was June 22nd. It was that was at the Bishop Barron. I mean, I was told about her, but that was the night where it was all crafted, and I ran into her friend that I didn't know was one of her friends, and it all kind of came about. It was Thursday night. And then I haven't talked about this, but I'm working on a new business venture that I'm very, very close to getting across the finish line. The first idea of that, I was just talking with my mom, around how it all happened, came 2 days later at the C.S. Lewis event that was in Grand Rapids on a Saturday night. And so how much my life changed in like 48 hours, fast forward. I didn't know I was going to start a business venture then, but it was when the AI tools came out, ChatGPT in March, and I had just done a side project with her for like helping employees with true comprehensive financial planning and building something slightly custom. And I was like, man, the tools are here to like completely take this to a whole other level, or they're going to be in the next year or 2 or 3. And then I just let it sit, right? Nothing really happened. And then fast forward 12 months later and ended up starting a new venture to kind of do all of this. And fast forward 12 months later, and I'm just about married to my wife. And so just how much, I guess where I'm going with this is like how much can change so quickly and how much can feel very similar for a while. And then all of a sudden, and obviously you're hoping you meet your wife, it's done, or your spouse. So then when it happens, it's just wonderful. So yes, the last kind of, call it 18 months, just been absolutely incredible. Huge, massive life changes. And just God really showed up in all of them. Like I'm so excited for the future.
That's great.
Which is the opposite. A lot of listeners heard me in like 2020, 2021, 2022, work stress, different things. Like it was just, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I think what you experienced in this last year, I'll probably be experiencing in the coming year. Of course, the kind of big thing on our horizon is thinking about a new job and needing to make a transition by the middle of June. And, lots of good folks are involved in that and praying about that. And so I love the parish that I serve, and I just pray that we have an ongoing relationship and loads of wonderful people there. It's also going to be in the coming months, the end of a 6-year journey of ordination and vocation, and a lot of kind of feeling a little homeless, right? I don't have a diocese. I don't have a parish. We're here just for now. And what I'm hoping in my next job is to have it be my last job for, most of my career. And so there will be a lot of changes. There may be a move involved. We're not sure. And so looking forward to that, also kind of just struggling to keep that in God's hands where it always is and it's always safe. But, it'd be good to have another year of priesthood under my belt. I feel it starting to sink in. I was dreaming the other night about writing a sermon because I do that so often. So seeing that all kind of come in that's been great.
Yeah, that feeling of being restless and not quite rooted, that was most of my life until like 9 years ago now. No, a little less. When I started dating Marie and started thinking this might be it. But I also can't but express the joy of once we moved to La Crosse going, this is it. Never moving again. I'm not leaving this house. This furniture is going to stay in here longer than I am.
Ah, lovely. What a great feeling.
Andrew, one of the questions that we had on the CS Lewis Reading Day that I wanted you to answer here. When's your Till We Have Faces book coming out?
The plan for it, and I'm wrapping up coursework at Northwind Seminary, so the next thing is to write my treatise, but the treatise is going to be chapters on the book Until We Have Faces. So, and I'll be working with Diana Glyer on that, all of this, God willing. But the hope is that I get that book finished in the coming year. 2026 is the 70th anniversary of the UK edition of Lewis's best book. And 2027 is the 70th anniversary of the American edition. And so I'm hoping that the book will be out sometime in 2026 and hoping to finish it in this coming year. So we'll see how that goes. There's a couple of other exciting things on the horizon that I can't really speak about, but I will once they're official.
But we know.
Oh, no, but they're in line. They're not distractions from, but in line with. And so, yes, the boys know. We'll make an announcement in due time. So yeah, that's what's coming up.
And Matthew, you've mentioned it a little bit, but I wanted to get your Christmas eggnog take on your experience of marriage so far.
Oh my goodness. I think my wife said it best once, just in a short sentence. But
see how quickly he learns, everyone.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Yeah, it's. I was asked this by a priest that we went to dinner with, and everything's just been a surprise to the upside. Like the things that you're kind of warned, or people try to set expectations for, the opposite has been. Like it's the little moments that are just the best. It's what I just described earlier. It's waking up in the morning and at 20 minutes. Sometimes it's 20 minutes of pure prayer. Sometimes we just end up just connecting and chatting, and unfortunately the prayer kind of falls a little bit to the wayside, but it's like you kind of let that moment happen because it's just wonderful to spontaneously, like maybe as a couple you just wanted to have that intimate moment. By intimate, I mean emotional.
Oh, we know what you meant.
Yeah. Mental.
Gotcha.
And it's wonderful. We joke about we have a one sink bathroom, and we actually love it. And so we're kind of getting ready at the same time, and it's just been so much fun, and like creates playful opportunities and conversations happen. And so yeah, and then in the evenings, or when you wake up in the middle of the night and you just kind of both end up being awake and you chat for 15 minutes, and then eventually you fall back asleep, but you can just have that moment together. I don't know. I'm just giving you all these examples of just when these moments happen that you don't have in dating or engagement because you're not living together. Everything is sort of planned. The spontaneity is just wonderful.
It's funny that you both get up at the same time, because that has never been my personal experience of marriage. I am always up before Marie.
I just don't even know how I think her and I are both similar this way, not just the get up time, but neither of us can sleep much. So if I get up and go to the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, she'll wake up. Like neither of us are deep enough sleepers to do that. We were just with someone that was describing the opposite. The wife can get up earlier and the husband doesn't even hear it. Her alarm goes off and he hears nothing. And I'm like, I can't even picture that. Honestly, I kind of wished that was the case. It'd be so wonderful to be that deep of a sleeper, but we're very light sleepers, I guess.
See, I have a remote controlled alarm clock that I can access from my phone. And so once the kids have got food, I like pull it up and like turn on the light and start playing music until Marie comes downstairs.
Oh, wow. That's cruel. Let her sleep.
I let her sleep in first. She gets several extra hours, but it's like, all right, it's time.
Yeah, honestly, this sounds like pretty great, David. You wake up and you're doing I mean, you actually sound like you're doing a pretty great thing.
And also, it's a very nice light. It's natural daylight kind of stuff, and the music is very soft and gentle. I have been tempted to replace it with an MP3 of me shouting, "Get up, get up!" The kids are pooped.
The scripture says God gives sleep to those he loves. So waking her up is standing in the way of God's love for her. So I'm not quite sure about the spiritual wisdom of that, but
scripture also says, "Awake, O sleeper, and rise from your
from
grave.
the dead, and Christ will shine on you." And a little more sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands in rest, and destruction will come upon you like a thief. And consider the ant, you sluggard. Yeah, I know them all.
All right, Matt, what has been your number one surprise? The thing that you didn't expect? It could be about marriage in general, marrying Margaret in particular.
I mean, this is a cheap answer to start. I'll think a little bit more, but everything I just said was the opposite of what I thought. I was kind of told those little things when you start living together, a bunch of these little things like pop up, and that just hasn't been the case. So I guess the fact that the opposite has happened has been probably the biggest surprise. I was just mentally prepared. I wasn't.
Which is a good place to be. And I'll say my experience is very, very similar. There weren't any great surprises living together. I knew what I was getting into.
Does Marie listen to these? I knew what I was getting into.
We will find out.
I love that. I guess there wasn't a ton of surprises other than that. I would say we were very blessed that we had great formation going into it. Great, both from friends to official stuff, our pre-Cana, everything. Like, there was nothing that, at least as of right now, of course, we're only 3-4 months in, so maybe something changes in 12 months, 20 months. But no real surprises.
Not even disagreements about how you load the dishwasher or wash a plate?
No.
Good job.
No, none of that stuff. I don't think there's been anything.
Well, I think that's actually a rather nice way to wrap up the episode with peace on earth and goodwill to at least Matt.
Absolutely.
Here to call for the final eggnog, also known as Milk's Punch. So thank you to our intern, Julia, our sound engineers, Taylor and Sarah, our Patreon supporters, and our top tier ones, Jody, Robert, whom we toasted today, Mark, my wife, Mary Margaret, Rowdy, Angela, David, Peter, Kate, James, John, Sarah, Rebecca, Megan, Brian, Joanna, Kelly, Stephen, Gary, Paul, Kay, Becca, this is getting longer, Shane, Thomas, Amanda, Joelle, Erica, Matt, James, Bud 2, Bud 1, Edgar, Aldo, Kevin, and Mark. And of course, thank you to all of you guys for listening.
And please join us next time when we will officially be in the Christmas season.
And continue going further up
And further in.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.